and hear us. Good morning. I'm John Fisher, Chief Exec of CHIC, and I'd like to welcome you to our Merchants Framework launch webinar, which we hope to get through in the next hour. We still, I think, have a few people to join, but the numbers are going up. So given it's just past 11 o'clock, we will crack on. Just so you know, this session is being recorded, and we're happy to make recordings available after the event. And if you have any questions as well as comments, please put them in the chat facility. It should be at the bottom of your screen. Luke has just put one in there asking colleagues I'm about to introduce to turn their cameras back on because they're too keen to hide themselves. So if you do that, I will just introduce everybody, and then we will just have whoever's speaking on at that point. So that is the event today, the Merchants Framework launch webinar. Slide, please, Hannah. I do apologise to folks. You're going to hear slide, please, a lot of times in the next hour, but still, it's the Zoom haven't invented anything clever enough to overcome that yet. So, agenda in front of you. I'll just do a quick intro to CHIC and Efficiency North. Hand over to Darren from Efficiency North, who will take us through the framework overview and how we got to the start line effectively. Giles will take us through the benefits and the appointed suppliers. Jeremy will then take us through the procurement process and the specs and commercial pricing. How work is awarded will be with Joe. Then how we're going to engage partners and work on catalogues with Becky, and how we then manage frameworks and performance, and a bit of a wider overview of what we do. Luke will pick up at the end. So colleagues, if you hide your faces now, so they've got to suffer me just for a short while, and then we'll gradually hand over and all come back at the end for questions. So slide, please, Hannah. So we have about 60 people on this call, just over, and that's a mixture of framework partners. So those who've just been appointed to the new framework, welcome. Some of you, it'll be the first time, some it will be repeating other frameworks with us. In addition, we've got members for both CHIC and Efficiency North, and colleagues from both teams as well. There are quite a lot of slides. That is intentional. There's quite a lot of information in them. They will be available afterwards. So if you feel sort of obligated to try and scribble or take photographs, you don't need to. We'll make them available straight afterwards. Please, Hannah. So just a bit about CHIC and EN, Efficiency North. We are both consortia working in the affordable housing sector, both governed by non-executive boards who are drawn mainly from the member organisations, members typically housing associations, local authorities, and concentrating on affordable housing. We both have dedicated teams, but on this particular framework and others, we work closely together because what we do is complementary. We do the same things for similar members, and the benefits of scale, which bring organisations together to form a consortium in the first place, prevails to an even greater degree by working jointly. So slide, please. Members, that's actually, I think, a CHIC map, and there's more in the northeast, Yorkshire and Humberside, putting additional members on from Efficiency North. But it shows the sort of scope and scale of the geography that we jointly cover with members, and those little dots are head offices. The geography covered by the housing that those organisations own and manage is significantly greater, and covers really the whole, particularly of England and Wales and parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Both organisations are free to join for members. We are also not for profit. We have to pay the running costs, and that's picked up through transaction fees when contracts are let and organisations actually trade through us. Slide, please, Hannah. I won't go through these numbers. There's a slide in the sec, which is the Efficiency North one. The important point to make is we represent a large number of organisations, over 400 between us. Between them, managing over 4 million homes in the UK, a lot of contracts, and between us, well over £500 million worth of spend. Slide, please, Hannah. So again, big numbers on both. And again, to make the point, we work in a complementary way, and that's mainly geography. So CHIC is a national organisation, Efficiency North is regional, but we effectively complement what each other do across the whole of the UK. Thank you, Hannah. And finally, from me, the services we provide are all things asset management to the affordable housing sector. And under the 8 labels that we've got there, the activities that we take responsibility for helping our members to procure their contracts and consultants and so on to deliver. The top left one in this particular case is merchants and materials. So the provision of merchant services and materials to both in-house contractors, DLOs, and to external contractors. That is what this new framework is for and what we're going to hear a bit more about. So that's a bit of background. I'm going to hand over to Darren from Efficiency North, who's going to take you through the overview and market engagement. So I will see you at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be looking at the framework overview and basically, next slide, please. Saying that's going to give me COVID flashbacks. And basically, why reprocure? As you're probably all aware, over the past few years, the old procurement regulations have been changed and replaced by the Procurement Act. So there were lots of new regulations, new gates, new requirements, very complicated, and it's been a steep learning curve for everybody involved with it. The old framework is coming to an end, and basically we're future-proofing the requirements and our frameworks to be fit for the purpose moving forwards. Obviously, there's mergers and acquisitions. Companies, suppliers are quite often bought by venture capital organisations. They're kept for a few years, chopped and changed, and basically companies can go through stages of uncertainty during these transitions, but at least if we've got the frameworks in place, the company may have to go through this discomfort, but at least it gives our members more certainty and comfort with the companies that they are using, and certainty that they are firm and good companies. Obviously, the macro environment, I'm sure we're all suffering the slings and arrows of the issues with the Straits of Hormuz, fuel going up, everything like that. Prices are uncertain. I mean, plastic is a prime example where I'm getting price change notifications on a regular basis. And if prices are locked in to set agreed periods, it gives a certain degree of buffer zone and safety for our members as well. And obviously, sector disruptors, there's, again, it's sort of the new Procurement Act. Some see it as a blessing, some see it as a curse, but it is a fact of life. So we've got to get on with it and make it work for us. Sector requirements, spot buying versus long-term strategic partnership. I'm sure we all agree that we see the benefits of these long-term partnership agreements, and obviously the frameworks do that. They can lock in prices for set periods, and they can give the suppliers the confidence to know that what products and services are required down the line, so that they can budget and stock up for them accordingly, rather than just sort of people doing ad hoc procurements. And it can also help with operative standardization of materials, because if we have big spend on particular items, we can negotiate better prices for all involved. And obviously improve use of technology and MI to inform decisions. So it's basically allows for an analysis of trends, performance, and makes strategic forecasts moving forward. So the more planning that people can do, the better it is. And obviously suppliers can see the same information as well, and they can work with us. It's all about collaboration. So we can all work, all stakeholders can work together to provide the best service and the best prices possible. And in the new framework, there's now 12 frameworks, and some of them are very innovative. Obviously, there's the standard ones with the plumbing, electrical, builders, merchants, but there's sort of new ones, including I won't go into too much elaboration as they will be probably detailed in other slides, but merchant consortia, painting and decorating, tools, waste management, and retrofit materials. So there's lots of new and interesting frameworks in there for our members. Next slide, please. But before we started the massive exercise, we had a pre-market engagement session. We had actually two. We had one at the Magna in Sheffield and one that was in Milton Keynes, where the key stakeholders, the members and the suppliers were invited to attend, and we were keen to get their feedback. And so, but again, it's going back to collaboration. The key word, it wasn't just Chick and Ian dictating what we wanted. We were inviting people to give us their views, their opinions, and so we could get a better picture of what good looks like. And it wasn't just a case of us forcing things down people's throats. There were lively discussions with other perspectives of what this good looks like, and there were many companies with direct competitors sat next to each other, so there was sometimes there were difference of opinions, and a lot of the opinions was that they should get the frameworks and all the work, but that's that's for them to prove their prices and their service. And next slide, please. The outcomes. There were a few ideas for new frameworks which we explained and discussed to people. Some seemed to be non-starters, which they didn't go that far past the starters gate and were dropped, but other ideas were taken on board and discussed. Payment ideas were popular, especially with suppliers but again, collaborative payment methods were better for all involved. Social value, again, the previous rigid model of one apprentice per a million spend was seen as inflexible, so wider options, which will be elaborated on later, were discussed and rolled out with people, and the consensus was that they seemed to make sense and work for everybody. Obviously, and then improved manufacturing engagement was also part of the elements of the discussion as well, because sometimes it seemed to be one stage of separation for us and Chick, Ian and the members, where we'd have to liaise with a supplier, and we weren't always the front line for innovation or possible savings or opportunities. So we've strengthened that tier of communication. Next slide, please. And this, I think, the framework partner model is hopefully fairly self-explanatory. The framework partners have the opportunity to use the Chick. I mean, the framework is one and the same, but obviously Chick members and EM members have the same opportunities to access these frameworks and utilize them and get the benefits from them. And so they have the same service that we've always been, Chick and Ian have always been providing, with the catalogue management, performance management, reporting, service configurations, and stakeholder meetings. So next slide, please. And that's it for me. So I will hand you over to Giles Newman, who will do the next slide.
Good morning, all. I hope you're well on this sunny day. I'm Giles Newman. I'm the Head of Merchant Services for Chick. My responsibilities are to oversee the new merchant framework and to make sure that it transitions properly into the business and with our members. Next slide, please. Okay, so we created the new merchant framework to enable our members not only to procure a traditional merchant service, such as a one-stop shop, but also to have the ability to create a bespoke supply chain covering multiple specialisms, and to cater for members that wish to use singular specialisms for specific projects. The framework also fits extremely well to members wishing to split materials and labour when using contractors, as each specialism can be benchmarked and procured individually with a large scale of specialist providers. As Darren mentioned, the framework has then been presented to a wide panel of members, manufacturers and merchants for feedback before the framework was procured. And these are the lots that were decided that we would push forward for the new framework. And as you can see, there are 12 lots catering from plumbing all the way down to van stock software. Next slide, please. Very brief slide. So in total, we had overall 30 merchants across the UK that participated in the tender exercise, with 27 merchants being approved to the award stage. However, there were unfortunately 3 that didn't make it onto the framework. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows you the 12 different lots with a number of merchants that have been awarded to each. The number of merchants across lots 1, 5 and 8 will actually be greater when taken into account merchants are part of NMBS, which is the National Merchants Buying Society, covering local merchants, independent merchants nationwide across the UK. The second column indicates the number of merchants across the UK, with the lower numbers, which mainly are the first ones, which are based across the Northern Ireland region. So as you can see, we've got a very, very good coverage of merchants across all regions. Next slide, please. Okay, so this table shows you the number of merchants awarded to the framework across all of those regions. What this does is it breaks down, so example, Lot 1 plumbing. It identifies each of the regions and the number of merchants that have been awarded to each one of those, or has the ability to provide that service within each one of those regions. And then it's been totaled up. So you can see the very large number of merchants at the bottom. Again, that doesn't include all of the members of NMBS. These are only the members that have, the merchants that have participated in the exercise. So that goes from 191 all the way up to 203, I think it is. 223, sorry. Next slide, please. So just a geographical spread. You can see here the numbers are very high. Once again, puts a little bit of content for our members to see that we've got the ability now to provide across all of those lots, across all of those regions. And we're very, very well covered across the UK. Next slide, please. Okay, so this particular table shows you the value of each of the lots that were tendered. Now, all of these are in the millions, and how we came to these values are as follows. So excluding retrofit for the time being, each of the lots have been calculated by combining EN and CHIC members with a direct labour organisation, DLO, and multiplied the estimate annual repair spend of approximately £400 per property against the number of properties with a DLO. So as an example, plumbing and heating is £400 times the number of members with DLOs against the number of properties, how we come up with 136 million. Retrofit was calculated in a very similar way. However, the retrofit spend per annum is a lot greater than that of a repairs cost of £400. Next slide, please. So these are all of the appointed suppliers. Congratulations to all of you that have managed to get onto the framework. As you can see, there's a very, very good spread there for builders, merchants and specialists across the spectrum. Next slide, please. Monthly merchant reports. Now, monthly merchant reports are something that we do standard for all of our members that utilise our merchant framework. What this does is it gives our members an overview and the ability to see what their spend is, how their operatives are behaving, whether they're price compliance or whether the items are being sold at the correct price, what the credit values are, what the potential savings they can achieve through changing the products, etc. They get to see what's been purchased on catalogue, off catalogue, which Becky will cover very shortly. And then we also add in, where applicable, the merchant's KPIs, so the merchants can provide that information to us. The member can then see all of that information into one report. So it's a very key thing that we do every month that enables our members to be able to see whereabouts they are with regards to their budgets, but also how their contract is performing. Next slide, please. So that's me, very quick, very speedy. I'll hand over to Jeremy. Thank you.
Thank you, Giles. So next slide, please. So this is our procurement journey, and it's a 5-gate process designed to ensure every framework is member-led, strategically planned, competitively tendered, and actively managed to deliver measurable outcomes. So we take this through a 5-gate process where CHIC on the first gate consults with customers to understand needs, priorities, and challenges. This shapes the procurement strategy for the newer replacement framework. And then we go through to the Gate 2 strategy. This is where our technical services team, working alongside merchants and partnerships, develops a sourcing strategy to prepare the tender documentation, defining the evaluation criteria and setting the commercial model. And then to Gate 3, we publish the tender, launching it on CHIC's e-sourcing portal, and then manage supplier clarifications, reviewing pricing, and confirming final submissions. And then through to Gate 4, where we're awarding, suppliers are notified of results, framework agreements are finalised, and onboarding takes place. And then finally on to 5. This is where CHIC actively manages supplier performance, oversees call-off contracts, and conducts post-project reviews, and then with insights where we feed into future procurement cycles. Next slide, please. So this is the sourcing structure with, at the beginning, you can see stage 1, our invitation to tender, published by CHIC. And then we go through the clarifications process at stage 2. These are the clarifications submitted by tenderers and responses provided during this stage. And then on to stage 3, where response documents are created and then they're submitted, and clarifications and evaluation are conducted by our technical services team. And then we go through to stage 5, where assessment summaries are sent to tenderers. Next slide, please. So the most advantageous tender weightings are based on quality 60% and price at 40%. And those are split, as you can see on the slide. Quality questions are split between health and safety, methodology for framework delivery, service delivery, and quality management. And social value is at 10%. Next slide, please. So this is the procurement timeline. So the tender notices and documents were published the 4th of December. And the tender return date was the 10th of February. And during that time, all of the ITT was created. And then following that tender return date, there's tender evaluation that's conducted to ensure that all of those pricing submissions are evaluated. And then it's also sent to board approval. and notification of tender outcome, and then right through till today, where it's the launch of the framework. Next slide, please. Breakdown of firms where the bids were received. So as you can see, micro, small and medium enterprises, there was 27% bids received from them, and the larger companies, 73%. Next slide, please. So on to specifications and pricing. Next slide, please. So during this process, we create lot structure following initial work completed by both our merchants and partnerships team, where our merchants team, obviously following discussions with the supply chain, determine what the demand needs are for our members. And then following that discussion, we build up the specification, ensuring that relevant UK legislation, procurement best practice and sector knowledge is introduced to build that specification. And then following that, we also check its clarity and completeness, so it's not challenged later. Next slide, please. And then this leads on to the member project specifications for call-off. So the member requirements are scope of merchant supply arrangement, approved materials and product standards, ordering and call-off procedures, delivery to site requirements, van stock provision and management, out-of-stock items and substitutions, returns, damaged goods and waste, health, safety and resident considerations, performance management and KPIs, commercial controls, data systems and reporting, governance and change control. As you can see, it's covering quite a wide aspect there. Next slide, please. So pricing, framework pricing schedules. So pricing was split by a defined selection of materials determined from sector knowledge and regularly used products. Merchants tendered net prices for typically 50 purchased items. CHIC applied the volumes and was scored the gross prices comparatively, and the cost score was out of 40% by lot. Next slide, please. Over to Joanne. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good morning, everybody. Jo Hayes, Head of Member Services for the North. And I'm quickly just going to go through how our members can call off from this new CHIC EN Merchants Framework. Next slide, Hannah, please. So our membership database is predominantly made up of housing associations, our bread and butter, with 71%, local authorities at 25%, and we've got that other categories at 4%. Industries such as Blue Light, charities and the NHS. And our frameworks are available to supply services for any buildings owned and managed by a public authority. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have two call-off methods from our framework, the first one being the direct award route to market. The CHIC frameworks are unranked, allowing our members to award to any successful merchant on the framework. And we will support with the robust business case, which will document all the justifications for that award, not necessarily just price. Just in case of challenge or audit at a later date, that business case will sit behind any award to support you. Most members use the direct award for a quick, compliant route to market, and it gives them the ability to maintain a pre-existing relationship or when they have a very specific requirement. And it roughly takes about 2 weeks to put a compliant contract in place. Next slide, please, Hannah. Thank you. So the second route to market is the mini competition route. This is a little bit more of a complex route and can take that little bit longer, roughly 6 to 8 weeks, dependent on the time of year. We will work with our members to create a robust tender pack and invite all the framework merchants to tender. And this is all run through our CHIC e-sourcing portal. The interested parties will bid and the most advantageous tender will be successful. Our members tend to use this route to test the market when looking for a merchant and when they've got no particular merchant, no pre-existing relationship. When we build the tender pack with the member, we need to fully understand what's important to that member, cost, quality, and we can split that according to what's important to the member. And we must always remember that social value is on everybody's radar at the moment, so it forms a part of every mini competition and every call-off contract. Next slide, please. Thank you. So framework use. There's no direct cost to the CHIC members to use. The merchants will pay the rates the members will pay the rates that set by the merchants. Those rates come from either the pre-existing framework rates or the competitive tender that they've gone through, that competitive mini competition. Always know what the member is paying. The merchants pay a small percentage of their price, as agreed within the framework, as a management fee to CHIC and EN. So members should never see an invoice from CHIC. Next slide, please. So what exactly is Efficiency North and CHIC's role in this process? So a need is identified either by a member or a supply chain partner. And we, CHIC or Efficiency North, provide that compliant route to market, mini competition, direct award. We help create those specifications. We help create the cost model. We run that full process for the members. We create the contracts for our members and we facilitate the signing through DocuSign. And once a contract goes live, the members have access to the wealth and knowledge that sits within CHIC and EN for the smooth running of that contract. Next slide, please. So CHIC's senior management team are asset managers first, not just procurement specialists. And unlike other consortia, we don't just put a contract in place and walk away. Through our managed service, our members are supported through the lifespan of the contract, if that's what they choose and if that's what they need. Main point of contact for our members are our regionally placed heads of member services, as you can see on the map. I won't go through them. They are all on our website. Next slide, please. Efficiency North's management service team is set up slightly different to us, but they deploy a category lead approach to member support. Led by Chief Exec Lee Parkinson, you can see their full team there. If you need any contact details, please feel free to reach out. Next slide, please. And lastly, I just wanted to introduce the merchants team. You've got Liam Gratty, Director of Strategic Services, Giles Newman, Head of Merchant Services, Becky Will-Smith, Senior Supply Chain Manager, and Darren Walker, Supply Chain Manager. This team supports members to improve productivity, control costs, and deliver efficient repairs and maintenance services. But I don't want to go too much into that and steal Becky's thunder. Next slide, please. Over to Becky. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. Good morning, everybody. Next slide, please. So this is just some of the stuff that we do to support our merchants and our members when in contract. We have a dedicated supply team and we are the ones that build those long-term relationships with members and merchants and everything else. As Jo has already said, we do have unranked framework, which means that anyone can be awarded. We help to monitor all social value that goes through our contracts because we believe this is very important. Next slide, please. My job mainly in large is to build manufacturers with, is to build relationships with manufacturers, new and existing ones. We bring pricing down and understand what is going on in the world for our members. New innovative products we can take to members to help with cost savings and things like that. Next slide, please. We manage our catalogues uniquely with every member and every merchant. This is just a sample of what they look like, which is done on a quarterly basis to help evident price increases and reductions for our members. Next slide, please. So catalogue management, this is something that we do very well. New products can be added at any given time should the member need or the merchant discontinued items. On a monthly basis, we do a very comprehensive under and over report. This shows off catalogue spend, overcharge, undercharges, which actually can help both members and merchants with all the information that's on there. We pick up on any unit of measure issues and discuss it with our merchants and members in our monthly, quarterly meetings. Next slide, please. This slide just shows what we do within mobilisation and all the different things that we help and sit and can help assist in meetings with all of these different things. And we do that on a very regular basis. We can do weekly meetings should member need. We can do monthly meetings in person or on Teams. Next slide, please. So all of you lucky people that received the award notices the other day should already have received your onboarding packs. I sent those out on Friday. And in our quarterly, monthly meetings, we'll always discuss with you Chick Chat. That's a fantastic newsletter that we do. Our Chick conference, Out and About, when we come to visit and things like that. And we do love a good case study. We think they're very good. Next slide, please. So let's not forget, next week is our conference. It is free to attend. I hope to see a lot of you there. If not all of you, that'd be fantastic. It's next Wednesday. And if you just go onto our website, if you haven't already registered, it'd be brilliant to see you there. Next slide, please. And this is other exhibitions where we attend. So you'll either see myself, Giles, or both of us at them. So it'd be great for you to see you all there. And I believe I'm handing over to Luke.
Thank you, Becky. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having a good day. So I'm Luke Hurd. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Chick. What I'm going to do is just talk through some very high-level sort of framework management, performance requirements, and some of the social value outcomes that we will be looking for through the framework. So next slide, please. So key performance indicators. As I'm sure most of you will be aware, this framework has been procured under the new Act, the Procurement Act 2023. Now, part of that Act now mandates certain requirements around key performance indicators, the most prominent of which is contracts valued over 5 million, now mandatory need to include at least 3 or 5 KPIs. So what we've done in collaboration with Efficiency North is spent some time looking about how Chick and EN as a consortia can actually support our members, our supply chain, in terms of delivering KPIs, and more importantly, how we would report on those KPIs. What we've done is we've come up with 3 levels of KPI management, which I'll sort of talk through now in a little bit more detail. Level 1 is very high level at that framework, which we will manage on behalf of our members and look around in terms of what we are doing and how our suppliers are performing. Then level 2 is standard contract KPIs. Those are they're mandatory for everything over 5 million. However, the actual set KPIs can be flexed within the contract to suit the actual requirements of the contract, and then project specific level contracts at level 3. So next slide, please. So at level 1, so this is looking at how we assess and manage the performance of each individual framework that is procured under PA 23. We've come up with 4 levels of KPIs, which we are going to be mandatory assessing throughout the life of the framework, and those cover cost, quality, financial, and engagement. There are a number of different areas that each of those KPIs will look at in terms of the information and how it flows through, but most of it is very, very straightforward. We will be publishing the detail behind this very soon to all the framework partners, So hopefully you'll be engaged within that and be able to comment on them. But in a sense, these are very, very high level KPIs, which we will report on as part of the framework delivery. Next slide, please. Now, coming into the sort of nuts and bolts of it, level 2 KPIs, as I say, they are specific to the contract, they're specific to what the member requires, and we will be looking at for CHIC to actually report on these for all projects over 5 million. However, our intention is to apply these now to any call-off contract, regardless of size, because we think it's a good and best practice in terms of how we monitor performance. We've got 6 KPIs which we are recommending, covering time, cost, quality, environmental, social value, and health and safety. Again, these can be flexed within the call-off contract, but our recommendation is that the specific KPI that is applied does cover all of those 6 key areas. They are linked then to contract notices. So for 5 million and over projects, we will be having to report on these. So these will become part of public record, but will be facilitated by CHIC in terms of the final outcome from the KPI reviews and how these, what the final outcome is in terms of the KPI measure that gets reported on. And I believe these need to be reported on annually. Next slide, please. Level 3 KPIs are a little bit more generic. So these are KPI suites that we have developed in partnership with Efficiency North, which aren't mandatory, but are optional for our members and our supply chain to apply into a contract. Again, depending on the nature of the contract, if it's a managed store as opposed to a branch network opportunity, if it's specialist services, etc., etc. The KPIs need to be flexible enough to measure outcomes that actually deliver contract improvements, not just measuring information for the sake of measuring information. So what we are proposing to do is come up with some standard KPIs, some methodology around how those KPIs can be applied, but then it is down to our members and our supply chain to jointly agree at call-off stage which KPIs will be applicable to that contract, and it's down to them then as the sort of contract entities within a call-off to measure, monitor and report internally on those KPIs. CHIC can support, but it's not down as a mandatory area which we will directly get involved with. Next slide, please. So coming on to some social value reporting obligations. Social value is a big area, both for CHIC and Efficiency North, and is something that we are extremely passionate about across all of our contracts. But what does that kind of mean for you as members and suppliers? So next slide, please. Part of CHIC's social value and what went into this contract is a requirement that any call-off contract under CHIC and Efficiency North, a minimum of 1% of the turnover through those contracts should be associated with some form of social value output. Doesn't matter whether this is just through this framework or across multiple frameworks. What we do is we assess this on an annual basis, looking across full turnover. Now, this isn't business turnover. This is just looking at the turnover through call-off contracts that have been secured through either CHIC or Efficiency North. Next slide, please. The areas that we are focused on in terms of the contract requirements, so this is framework contract level, is looking at sort of social and community, health and well-being, crime and justice, economy, education and skills, jobs and environment. What we don't do is we don't mandate what activity needs to be undertaken by the supply chain under those key headings, because we recognised quite early on that all of our suppliers, and it's very general across the public sector, are actually very, very good at delivering social value, and most have it embedded within their organisations, but they do it in such a way that actually suits their organisation and suits the contracts that they are delivering and regionally basis on that. So whilst we have the headings, what we'd like to do is work with the supply chain at that call-off basis to understand exactly how that 1% is going to be delivered under that contract, which of those areas is core for them, core for the members, and then set in contract certain requirements under social value to deliver the 1%. Next slide, please. So how do we kind of measure the social value, and in terms of what goes through and where we are sitting at in terms of the outcomes really from social value activities? In terms of CHIC, we measure internally how our staff do volunteering, donations. We also look at apprenticeships and trainings and community support, so specific project initiatives and sponsorships. What we will do, and we'll come on to it in a few more slides down, is actually just look at the evidence that sits behind that on an annual basis. And we do publish that now as part of our associated charity information, which is CHIP. That's for CHIC. Next slide, please. So for CHIC, we use HAC's Social Value Insight platform to measure the social return on investment, so 1%. What that actually can equate to could be quite significant in terms of social impact. We use HACT, which is our preferred sort of methodology, and it's an industry known method around measuring social value, and really does look at the long-term impact that happens beyond sort of the initial contract and the 1% in investment, but actually what does that mean on the ground? Next summary, please. So HACT is what we use for CHIC contracts. Efficiency North has their impact social value reporting platform, which is a slightly separate platform. So if a call-off contract is secured through Efficiency North and is managed through their management team and operational delivery, there would be a requirement for the merchant to use impact to undertake their reporting. It's very, very similar to the HACT model, and really does measure that sort of socio-economic value that is delivered through the investment that is made through social value outcomes. Next slide, please. So really just again to summarise, 1% has been set within the framework agreement. So that is a target that every single partner on this framework, all 27 of you, have signed up to as part of your tendering exercise and as part of the outputs that we will deliver. Again, how we do that, how specifically that is delivered, will be dealt with a call-off contract basis, but we will be looking to report on this annually. So there is a mandatory requirement for this information to come through to our social value manager, both at CHIC and Efficiency North, so that we can capture this information and report on it. Next slide, please. So what does that actually mean in practice? So this was 24-25's output information from CHIC, just looking at all of those sort of key areas, key headings, what was delivered through the contracts that CHIC had in place. That just gives you an oversight of the sort of level and volume that is being achieved at the moment. Next slide, please. And what did that mean as a total outcome? Again, using the HACT model, we were able to demonstrate that through CHIC contracts across all of our routes to market, we delivered over £33 million worth of asset of social value return to our members, to the regional regions that we actually operate in across the national. What it did, however, we still had a lot of missing data back then. So we do believe that if we had have had all of the information in across the supply chain under the previous frameworks that were there, that we would have exceeded more than 50 million in social value outcomes. So it's really, really important that this information is not only shared, but actually is calculated through accurately. Next slide, please. For Efficiency North, very, very similar through their impact system. They also delivered huge social value activity through 24-25, and their total, I think, was a combination of the bottom two, which is over £10 million worth of social value activity that was delivered through their contracts. So it is a significant best practice, as well as a great case study for all of us in terms of partners through this framework. Next slide, please. Now, coming on to sort of financial reporting, some partners under this framework might be new to working with consortia, are certainly new to working with CHIC and Efficiency North. As well as the sort of 1% mandatory reporting for social value, there is also a mandatory requirement under the framework agreement that any call-off contracts that are awarded, that data flows between you and CHIC. Most importantly, of which is the financial information on what has been invoiced through the contract. So as was described earlier in this presentation, our fee, the CHIC fee, the Efficiency North fee, is built into the rates that you charge to our members. So our members only pay one price. What your requirement is that on a monthly basis, you share with us what was invoiced for the previous month. That has been agreed, that effectively you have invoiced to the member. Our fee is then calculated off the back of your information that you sort of are able to give us, and then we subsequently invoice you for our fee percentage, for the agreed fee percentage. We always operate a month in arrears on that, and then you effectively have the standard 28 days to sort of pay the fee over to whichever of the consortium you are dealing with. Hugely important that you understand and set in place any processes that you need to do behind the scenes to ensure that this information comes across to either of us in terms of what you have spent and what information needs to go through. We also use it as part of the management reporting, which was discussed with Becky and Giles earlier in this presentation. So just wanted to stress how vital that information is to come across, and how important it is to ensure that the contracts are set up correctly at the very, very beginning. Next slide, please. Very last slide for me, you'll be pleased to hear. Just a little bit of sort of understanding across the wider CHIC and Efficiency North business. These are some frameworks that we are currently working on that we're looking to either award or we're in the process of renewing. Huge amount of activity happening across both organisations to ensure that we are delivering the full range of asset management services, of which merchants is a key part of to our members, and enabling our members to build on the great work that we do across the various different routes to market, and mix and match as they need to ensure they get the best benefit out of the services that we provide. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand back over to John Fisher to pick up any conclusions and do any Q&A. Thank you very much.
Luke, thank you, and thank you to all of my colleagues from both CHIC and EN for presenting their parts of the last 50 minutes or so. We had just, I think, one question in, nothing in the chat, but one question raised, which was whether the slides will be available, and an answer is yes. So I've just answered that, and this session is being recorded as well. So without any questions, I'm just going to try and sum up and do put questions in the chat now, if you have any for the panel. I'm very mindful that there's been a huge amount of information and the loss of slides, and a lot more information on those slides than colleagues are able to present. So just the sort of overview is that the reason CHIC and EN exist for their members is to try and make life more efficient in terms of service delivery for residents of our members, the people, the ultimate customers from what we all do. And that's because public procurement is a bit of a beastie approach to putting contracts in place, and by procuring collaboratively to consortia together, all of the heavy lifting that we have to do from a procurement point of view, and particularly our new partners on the framework have to do from a bidder's point of view, is dealt with once, and then provides a comprehensive set of options for our members to draw from in terms of both lots and geography. So although fairly complicated, if you look at it through the lens of any of our members, and some are on this call, what they're able to look at is the service that they need in a particular geographical area. And then we, as the consortia supporting our members can say, okay, what is it you need? What are the best lot or lots to serve that need? And who is on the framework with the geographical capability? And although organisations are on the frameworks regionally, that complicated slide that Giles showed you, we can then drill down further. So from a member point of view, we get a lot of choice. But from a merchant point of view, although there are, in some cases 8, 9, 10 organisations on a particular lot for a region, the reality is that'll drill down a little bit further in a bit more detail when we get down to a particular locality, an area within a region. But the framework's objective is a comprehensive set of solutions which are now in place and available to members, which mean the route to market for a member to find the appropriate merchant or supplier is relatively straightforward and efficient. And by giving the framework a decent life, then the call-off contracts can be put in place relatively quickly, as Joe said, either through direct award or most commonly under this framework, we'd expect a mini competition. To put the details together for a mini competition, we'll then pick up the local bespoke requirements of the member. So we have tendered everything, as Jeremy said, at a sort of generic specification and cost model level. The detail that then is needed for an individual call-off contract is the next sort of drill down, but it means that can be done in a focused, targeted way when we know there will be a contract outcome. And then together, working at volume, CHIC and EN will undertake the catalogue management. So we have good oversight of the market, of what's happening, of pricing, and through catalogue management, working with merchants and likewise on their IT solutions, IT integration. We have a very good understanding of what solutions are available, how best manage, and how to deliver the best value outcomes for members and for merchants. So to wrap up, really, this has been a big procurement exercise from our point of view, and from the market's point of view. All the merchants who've been through what we know is a lengthy and complex process, bidding through e-sourcing that Jeremy showed you a slide for. Takes some time, a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of clarifications, but we have reached the outcome. So that work is done. We now have an available and ready solution to meet what we hope are all market requirements, both for affordable housing, but also for the public sector generally. So moving forward, we will work closely with our members, EN with theirs, to make sure they are aware of the availability of the framework, but equally merchant partners, you may have other clients where your contracts are coming up for renewal that you will want to share the fact you're on this framework with them. So if that's the case, please do get in touch with us, and we will happily manage those, develop those relationships and manage those conversations. So for the last time, last slide, please. Just tips for me to say thank you to the speakers. Thank you particularly for everybody who's attended this webinar. I hope you found it of interest and useful. Slides, as we've already said, are available. And we will shortly issue to all of those who've just been through the procurement process a questionnaire. We know that process is comprehensive. We know it can appear quite complicated and quite turgid sometimes, and you'd rather not be going through it, but it is a necessary activity so that we can comply with public procurement regulations. Procurement Act 2023 is the latest version of that. This started just before that, but we've ticked that box. But can we do it better and more efficiently? Both consortia are about efficiency. So when you get the feedback request, please spend a bit of time filling it in, because if we can do things a bit quicker, a bit more efficiently, more effectively from your point of view, then we become more efficient as well. So all feedback gratefully received. So We have a question just popped up in the Q&A, so see if I can make the technology work. So the question is, in terms of integration with other suppliers, how will this be handled? So I'm going to ask Giles, I think, to pick this question up.
Is this with regards to a specific lot? Do we know?
We have an anonymous attendee has posted the question. Now, in terms of integration with other suppliers, how will this be handled? So I assume the question is if we have more than one supplier in a particular meeting a member requirement, how do we get them to work together? If whoever has posted the question can either expand it or just say that's right, and Giles can then regards to lot 12. There you go.
Okay, right. So lot 12, which is the Vanstock Solutions software, that will be down to the specific member. So if the member wishes to use a system that enables them to use multiple merchants, we will deal with that at the point of the call-off stage. We have got members that want to use multiple suppliers, so they can't use the generic software that a merchant may have in place, purely because it can't be expanded across multiple merchants. So they may go down the route of using a specialism company that enables them to, an operative as an example, multi-trade to order a plethora of different materials across different merchants. That's then fired out to those different merchants with the press of one button, rather than having to use multiple different merchant apps. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Giles. Hopefully, as in that answered your question. If you want more information, do get in touch after the webinar directly, either through, if you don't have Giles' email, just go through the website and we will put you in touch and respond to you. So we are 12:02. We were due to finish at 12, but we have another question. So no, it's a thank you. So as in, that's great. Yeah, we can talk to you afterwards in more detail if you would like to. So again, guys, thanks ever so much for spending your time with us this morning. Now just this afternoon, hopefully of use, but really importantly, we look forward to working with you all, members and supply chain partners, in the forthcoming years as this framework is rolled out to and becomes used by members across the UK. So we look forward to being part of that journey. And final plug, CHIC conference next Wednesday, Telford. If you've not met the stakeholders we work with, great day out, and if the sun's like this, then make sure you have some aircon in your car on the way there if you all go by train. There we are. So look at the website, you will get the link to that, but hopefully see many of you there a week today. So thank you very much. We are there.